My next guest is recognized by fans as one of the all-time greats of professional wrestling, and he's just written his autobiography, Have a Nice Day, A Tale of Blood and Sweat Socks. Please welcome Mick Foley, also known as Mankind. Now, one of the reasons we really wanted to have you on is that you do stand out in the world of wrestling as a guy who will do anything. You will risk your body. You will hurt yourself. I mean, really hurt yourself. You've lost an ear wrestling. Is that true?
I lost 2/3 of an ear, I guess you'd say.
Oh, well, that's okay then.
Yeah, it's not quite as bad.
Yeah. You lost, I mean, what happened? I mean...
Well, I was in Munich, Germany, and I was doing a move and I ended up getting my neck caught in the ropes, which are actually steel cables coated by rubber. And although my opponent later claims he saved my life by pulling me out of there, a fan's videotape showed that he actually had his back turned towards me and was yelling at the fans. And I likened it kind of like the wolf that chews off its paw. You know, I'm not exaggerating when I say I thought I was going to die in there. It was so tight on the ropes were so tight on my neck.
Right.
So when I pulled out, no, the ear didn't just come off. It ended up that I got back in, and there was quite a bit of blood coming down. I could hear the little pitter-patters of blood on the blue mat. And
a little pitter-patter?
Yeah, a little pitter-patter.
You tell it so nice, this story.
When
Tell me about the pitter-patter.
Well, yeah, when Vader threw a punch, I blocked it, and I threw my own punch, and there you see something obviously fall off the side of my head.
That's got to be disconcerting to see a part of yourself. Like, what's that? Oh, right.
Well, the truth was...
That's me, yeah.
It's a strange series of events, because we'd actually had 2 referees who were flown home with injuries.
Right.
So we had a French referee who was not able to tell me that, hey, I've got your ear here. So he picked it up, he handed it to the ring announcer, and while the match was still going on, the ring announcer kind of tiptoed it to the back, where when I finished, it was waiting for me in a bag of ice.
That's nice. They put it on ice for you. That's great.
Very considerate people over there in Germany.
How many stitches have you had in your whole career?
Well, you know what? I'd probably had about 50 behind that ear beforehand, so there went 50 right away. I've probably had about, over 300. But
so I could hit you right now, you just fall apart.
No, I'm actually pretty good at taking punishment. That's kind of my calling card.
Right.
And there's kind of like a matter of personal pride where you don't actually go to the emergency room unless you really need it.
That's for wimps, the emergency room. You know, that's what I say.
It was getting to the point where the doctors knew me on a first-name basis there. And,
you again.
So, you learn to kind of patch yourself up with a little bit of crazy glue or tape. So I've had quite a few injuries there.
Well, let's prove this to people, because there are a lot of people that don't know this. About a year and a half ago, you had what many people believe to be the greatest match of all time. It was you versus The Undertaker.
Right.
And it clearly went beyond the bounds of anything people had seen in wrestling before. Let's take a look at this clip right here and show people what happened. You're on top of a cage, and
yeah, it's about 16 feet down to the ground.
Okay. And you know what? We weren't showing the same fall over and over again. That was 3 times.
It's no reason to be concerned, because that was fake.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the thing is, you look at that and you're like, there's no way that you could fake falling. How many feet was that?
That was a legitimate 16 feet.
16-foot fall onto a table, and you didn't stop there. They started to take you out in a stretcher, and you got up.
I just felt like it was a pay-per-view. The fans paid $30. I felt like maybe I'd given them about $20 worth. They needed more, Colin. They wanted more.
Let's show what you did after you woke up from that fall.
There it is. Look, I'm hot now.
This is the same night, right?
Yeah, adrenaline's going through my body. I climb up the cage.
Right. That's exactly what I would do.
Actually, the chair that followed me down was actually knocked out a couple of my teeth. Now here comes the thumbtacks, which I had made famous over in Japan. Boom! There we go. See that thing in my nose?
Now wait a minute. Let's
undo.
Those are a couple of things. First of all, those were real tacks. That's not. I mean,
you know, I wasn't able to find what some fans think actually exists, which is like a fake thumbtack store where you buy your fake chairs. You know, yeah, it was a real deal. There was about 6,000 of them, and I'd say about 500 or 600 ended up in my body.
Really?
Yeah.
So and also in the fall, when you fell through the cage, that was not supposed to happen.
Yeah, the cage.
And you fell and you lost a tooth.
The cage pulled an ad lib on me, and we went through. Yeah, and Well, if you could see it, I don't know if you could see it. A lot of fans watch this tape over and over and over, and I firmly believe that they don't have girlfriends. Anyone who's seen that match more than 3 or 4 times probably.
Well, anyway.
He knows what I'm talking about.
There you go.
He probably doesn't date a whole lot, Conan.
You know what I love is, you said those guys don't have girlfriends, and one guy went to high school when I didn't have a girlfriend. Now, you lost a tooth, and the tooth went in your nose.
Right.
We have a picture of this. It's not for the squeamish. Can we see this, please?
There it is. Now, look, you see that? It looks like I'm smiling. They thought I was smiling. Look at this, man, guy.
Right.
Smiling. What I was trying to do, I was trying to push my tongue through the hole underneath my lip.
Okay.
I had about I thought, you know, I'm going to go above and beyond that $30 limit. I'm really going to, you know, I'm going to give them something they can remember. But it's been talked about. I mean, out of all
that's a famous match.
Yeah, I mean, I'll never, you know, that's like what Chappaquiddick is to Ted Kennedy, Hell in the Cell is to me, you know. Son.
What a wonderful thing to say. Before we go, because we're running very tight on time here, quickly, you're famous for, you use a smelly sweat sock called Socko to disable your opponents. And we only have a second, but there's Socko.
I have Mr. Socko. What I do, I apply a nerve hold, which is made doubly effective with the use of a smelly sweat sock, and I go underneath the tongue.
Right.
It's a hold that Dr. Sam Shepard of The Fugitive fame, the doctor who...
Another great reference.
The Fugitive show is based on. Yeah, you go underneath the tongue, and the fans at home, it's the only move that you can actually try on yourselves. So around the country, you might want to open up, go underneath the tongue, and press down on the 2 nerves, while simultaneously, big word for a wrestler, pressing up on the little bone that goes underneath the jaw.
And you can actually paralyze people by doing it.
Sure, it's a paralyzing pain. They can't
And
move.
the smelly sweat sock is just to humiliate them while you're doing it? Well, before we go, we're just about out of time, but I know...
Well, I grew up in Long Island, and there's actually a little section in my book about the fondness I have for the memories of my dad taking me to Yankee Stadium, where I used to wait for the ball players. So I'd like to see the Yankees pull it out again. Yeah.
Nicely done. Mick, I am so sorry that happened. He'll be fine. Well, the book is called Have a Nice Day. It's a tale of blood and sweat socks, and you did not use a ghostwriter. You wrote this yourself.
That's true, yeah.
And I wanted to mention that. Mick, it was so great having you on the show.
Thank you very much, Conan. I would love to come back.
We'll be right back with Jimmy's Chicken Shack, everybody. Mankind, Mick Foley.